Let's go. I don't know what it is. I cannot warm my hands up today. Hence a little hand heater. Brusava, or however you say it. Trying to take a chill pill. Let's play a little good cop, bad cop. No, literally, it's just trying to hit things from all different angles. I hope you understand and not entirely becoming triggered and taking offense. As I listen to even snips of prior rants, I grew exhausted of myself. It's weird. So let me apologize to you all. I love you all. I see that we all have, okay, the elevator music's gotta go. Let's switch things up. Welcome to UNMUZZLED Chat. Hope you're having a terrific day. It's just wild to me that, yes, we live in a wartime. New war tactics are being waged on us, and somehow, as a masses, we're sweeping it under the rug and not addressing it. There's no better example of this than the scam pandemic. They came after me and you and everyone we loved. That singular tactic that was used really uncovers the synagogue of Satan, the biblical spiritual battle that is being waged in our time. And it's challenging, especially maybe because it's so personalized for me with the Lyme disease, the other bioweapon that I've acknowledged in my body, that it's easier for me to see and feel the impacts of the newer aged warfare being waged on us daily, because they've shifted their energy from injections to other methods, and it's playing out, and it's as though we're not properly responding. We keep using the analogy of a threat posed like at your doorstep, whether it's a terrorist, just a hateful individual, whether they have some form of weapon. We would respond to that, but somehow we're not. Okay, this is getting too intense for me in the background. I'm just sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I'm trying to hit it from all different angles here. And there's some inspiration I got. So let's just jump into today's content from other content creators. And I must do better hitting it from all different angles. And this gentleman here, we might even have a shot at having on the podcast here in the near future. And I would welcome that. I would love to magnify his gifts. And that goes for all your gifts. That's what this platform wasn't my soapbox. Didn't create it for me, just so we could effectively organize in our time and face the actual threats. And I'm already having cognitive difficulty even expressing the proper manners or the former manners I've used on this platform. But I could see how that was just too intense, demoralizing even. It wasn't encouraging, emboldening. Folks, granted, could excuse it to an extent that some people just need that slap in the face. But generally speaking, those very methods aren't very effective. And I don't want to demoralize anymore, because the fact of the matter is we have so much opportunity in our lives if we stop giving our power away, getting all distracted with the smoke and the mirrors, the intended propaganda to exhaust us and not really address our oppressors or the real threats or the spiritual war being waged in the devil himself. So without further ado, give this a listen. I like this guy. I like his approach, the energy he emits. And he'll use strong language, but it's from a more enlightened state, and I do vibe with that.
I just want to say a shout out to everyone who's been waking up over the last few years. You know who you fucking are. You see every 5G tower, you see all the trails in the sky, the poison in our food and our water and our products. You're finding restaurants without seed oils. You know all about the Rockefellers. You're into men being men and women being women. You can't have a normal job. You can't stand the government. All this woke nonsense makes no sense to you. Your family looks at you and your decisions in disgust and thinks you're fucking cuckoo. And at least once a day, you daydream of having you and your family on a plot of land with goats and chickens and guns because you changed your stance on owning guns, didn't ya? Haha, didn't ya? You know, drinking raw milk in the sunshine, touching your spouse's bum, and letting your kids play in the fucking dirt. Don't ya? And of course, last but not least, you weren't retarded enough to believe all the clowns on TV performing the greatest fear and manipulation campaign in human history, telling you that you're gonna die or you're a bad person if you don't inject yourself with some severely undertested and toxic gene therapy just so a lot of powerful people could make billions of dollars. And maybe even with an underlying intention of population control if I really want to get fucking crazy, okay? Anyways, to all of you, I love you, I hear you, I fucking salute you, and we're in this together. Tag your awake friends below so we can give them a shout out, and that's the fucking vibe today, baby. I just want to say a shout out to everyone.
And that's the freaking vibe today, baby. Can't say I've ever uttered those words in my life. It's not so much who I am, but that vibes with me enough that 100%. That's the freaking vibe. Guys, I do salute you. I love you. We are in this together. We have all the cards as a collective. If we could just grasp that, it doesn't even matter. Like, we have all the cards. And truth reigns supreme over the mental gymnastics being played out before our eyes regarding all the lies. It's an upside down world, everything being portrayed as propaganda from certain sources. Guys, you could tell the true propagandists because it's not based in truth. I'm going to try to take one out of his book and have a shift into something that hopefully leads to more encouragement, more emboldening, strengthening, more solution-based than, in fact, doom and gloom. I can see how I've been having that impact. This clip actually explains a lot as to how I feel. Now, we can take how this is more so capturing a parental role on behalf of kind of tough love in children, but we can apply this to our friendships, even a father or a son to a father, children to parents, loved ones, the political sphere. Frankly, we all would do better by really absorbing this with also the vibe of the other gentleman we just played. So give this a listen. I love it. Absorb these words. All the links to these clips are down below. Let's make them viral. Share them to the moon. Though that could be the subtle ways we plant seeds and unify to where we organize our cards and play the strongest hand historically the world has ever seen.
Do you know what breaks a parent's heart more than anything else? It's not when you fail. It's not when you make mistakes. We expect those. We made them too. What breaks our hearts is when you throw away your future, when you choose comfort over discipline, when you settle for good enough instead of giving your best. We don't push you because we want control. We push you because we've seen where the easy road leads, and it's nowhere you want to go. Yes, we make you study. Yes, we tell you to stay away from certain friends. Yes, we tell you to get up, to work hard, to keep going even when you don't feel like it. Not because we enjoy watching you struggle, but because the world outside this home will not go easy on you. And if we don't prepare you now, life will break you later. One day you'll understand that every rule, every curfew, every hard conversation wasn't about control. It was about love. Because the truth is, we'd rather you hate us for a season than lose yourself for a lifetime. Discipline feels like pain today, but tomorrow it will look like love. If this message touched your heart, share it with a parent who needs strength or a child who needs this reminder.
Yes, please. Let's share that to the moon. Folks, between these two clips, I could sit here and replay them, and I don't know what it does. It lights a good fire. I know in previous episodes, I wasn't igniting that strength. I missed the whole point. I was sitting here shooting myself in the foot. All the intent out the window, because the lost sight is to the actual impact the messages and going over the information was having. I'm sorry, I do not want to have that impact. It is a game of hitting things from all different angles at different times in our lives to sink in deeper. It's interesting even to me to acknowledge some of these clips. In fact, on a personal level, when I'm viewing them, when I'm queuing them up, when I'm building out an episode, it sinks in at a different level, deeper, or in a certain level of deepness, or in a particular way. But then when I'm sitting here and I'm playing it out for you, it's even sinking in on a deeper level or hitting in a whole other way. So it's timing. It's how I'm now putting in a position of consideration on, how is it being viewed? And sometimes it's just the noise in my own brain as I initially absorbed it. There was just subtle points that landed subtly somehow. But when I re-listen to it, it's like, wow, that was a powerful point. How did I really not let that sink in? And I know personally a lot of it has to do with the level of weaponry that's being rolled out on all of us that's diminishing that ability, a sense of normacy, and even absorbing all this information. This is powerful. I like this image. I mean, there's probably better images out there. Don't get me wrong. But this gentleman states, this was my breaking point. There's no going back now. The satanic cabal must fall. It's us or them. And then there's just this picture. And more than the picture and what it's depicting, it's the words. I just wanted to make my own health decisions. But it's capturing something very profound. Have you received a breaking point? If so, what has that been? In fact, drop it in the comments. Not so much the live chat, because that disappears. It's hard for me to interact with that. Maybe we'll attempt live Q&As futuristically, but frankly, we just, for whatever reason, are so suppressed, and I'm doing such a terrible job that we're not building enough people to have all this. That's where it's like, let's just focus on individual conversation. If you would like to join me, reach out to unmuzzledchat@gmail.com. Would love to schedule you out, and we can dive into some powerful topics. In fact, let that be one of them. What was your breaking point? What woke you up to push back against these fictional propagandist narratives we've been spoon-fed for generations? Maybe something that had you believe, wow, the whole, whatever realization it is, whether it's a whole political being a circus and a show and it's all fake and giving us the illusion of a choice, or the health systems and the level of corruption, or the banking cabal and the debt, whatever it may be. But what was it that, is it the streaks in the sky that push you to the precipice, or like this individual, the breaking point that they were doing everything they could to choose on your behalf? You had no say in the matter regarding your own body, your own God-given temple in this existence. Now, yes, we aren't done with Charlie Kirk in any way, shape, or form. I love Candace Owens and so many that are questioning, getting so much flack, and more on that a little later in this episode. But this, and what he captures here and ends on, is something very powerful, and I believe it will help ignite that discerning within our own minds to see more so, spoiler alert, pattern recognition. And how Charlie praised that, in a sense, in his own regard, how he had been working on sharpening that tool within himself regarding pattern recognition. Now, the other things he talks about to get to that point are also incredibly important, because it exposes so much as to the way the world is operating today, how infiltrated and occupied our own system of government has become within this country. So we played it before, let's play it again.
Let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. Was there a stand-down order? Was there a stand-down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say...
I'm going to lose my place, so let me interject just real quick. It's been proven by not just low-end soldiers, but even ones higher up in the IDF, in the forces, that have admitted under oath that they were given, yes, stand-down orders. Why? When we start asking those questions, we start to see, wow, for Israel to achieve this greater Israel and this greater land grab, they need a reason. They need an excuse for the world, especially America, to accept essentially what came after October 7th. And I'm sorry, there's no justification to the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of innocent children, women, even men, unarmed. I mean, we could go over all the war crimes and so much, but MAGA, this administration, how is that making America great again? That we have funneled now over $24 billion this term alone to Israel to commit its war crimes. It's helpful. But anyway, I once again don't want to get beside the point here. We're not to forget, this was an American just utilizing freedom of speech. I believe at some point, just like the Truman Show, he woke up and realized, wow, TPUSA, in fact, has nothing, like, it isn't what I thought it was, in fact, because, but he was so wrapped up in his work and the positive impacts he was having in this nation across the board. But at the end of the day, what took place? We saw that horrific footage. He was assassinated in front of thousands on a college campus. And the world has seen that horrific footage. And we're to believe the liars and not get to the bottom. Let's really ask who benefited. But this man, this is essentially what he was awakening to and the things he was touching on before he was assassinated. The loony left, as Trump would say, or the LGBT community. What did they really benefit? Where's the true motive for them to take him out because he was pro nuclear family. There was no actual threats he was posing to anyone, just bringing open dialogue. So the motive really isn't there. But as you go over all the information that's come out, that he himself stated, I fear for my life if I go against the pro-Israel cause. And then in his personal text messages, within 48 hours of his assassination, stating to his friends at TPUSA, who he viewed as friends, I am given no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. You can really see the motive, who's to benefit out of that situation. LGB wasn't going to benefit on taking him out. And the means. Who really had the means? And just to touch on, and we'll get into this, Ian Carroll's done a fantastic job exposing this, but Israel is 100% incriminated in his assassination, indisputably, on numerous connections we can make on that. It's not so much gymnastics. I mean, there's layers and complications to it, but the very simple incriminating evidence is what Ian Carroll has exposed regarding the web-based searches that Mossad and Israel did prior to his assassination. And you can't explain that away, all the searches of a foreign, whatever you want to classify it as, that was established in 1948. But they looked up the Timpanogos Hospital, the surgeons. They actually did searches on the specific coordinate the 30-06 was found. Like, you can't make this stuff up, and it's not coincidental. So when you look at that information that Ian Carroll and so many others, Candace Owens, has brought forth, they are incriminated 100%. And what is Kash Patel? There's so many other angles we could even dive into that our government, these three-letter agencies, aren't serving we the people. It's not serving our nation. In fact, quite the contrary. But it's all good. Once again, we're not to be fearful. We outnumber our government. As a people, we outnumber the elite. We outnumber our oppressors. We just need to get organized. And that's why this is so heavily, when it's just singular outliers such as Charlie Kirk, you can see they can effectively get to them. So I do believe the threat recently Candace has been exposing on her life is a very real threat. But they do risk more exposure to the true terrorist organizations that exist. So they're kind of damned if they do and they damned if they don't. But I digress. This is a man that was assassinated for essentially what he was honing in on. There is so much importance to continuously coming back to what he was speaking on that it's not even a belief, I know, that led to the reasons why he was assassinated in public, in front of our young men and women, and for the whole world to see and be made example of.
They stand down. That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is. Yeah. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate, I gotta be careful the way I say this, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition
This is it.
over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.
Pattern recognition, folks. I'm writing that one down. And I challenge you all to do the same. Write it in your phone, but literally pen to paper, pencil to paper has a different level of absorbing and hitting home. And when we look around to the few things he even just labeled there, right? COVID, Epstein, Maui fires. There's so much more to utilize pattern recognition across the board and sharpen that tool within ourselves. And let's just kind of walk through some of the things queued up that I believe are important to apply and sharpen this tool. So this kind of captures it. If Tom kills Jerry, the show is over. The whole show is about this cat trying to murder this mouse. And it's like at times, yeah, it is built out in a way. It's like you're cheering for the mouse, but you're cheering for the cat. But then again, it can never actually come to fruition because the show's literally over. And it's the same reason this construct of left versus right and parties never fix anything when they're in power. For example, we all know the rotting bag of oatmeal known as Joe Biden, how corrupt that family, the Clintons, Barack Hussein Obama. We know that. And there's a continuous fake fight between the left versus right on the political stages. But the cat never catches the mouse. Let's just, Tom being Republican, Jerry being Democrat. You see what I'm getting at? The arrest of Trump, the assassination attempt on Trump, attempts is theater. Just to get us, and just look at the pattern recognition. Step back. And it's interesting how they've so effectively, in the propaganda, has played off our emotions where we just literally do fall in a sense of false idol shit, like idol worship. Ones that only tune into Fox News and the ABC Soup organization that lied about so much. Like, you wouldn't know any better that, oh, this administration did so good. For example, what was happening in Gaza, and there was a cease order. Fantastic. Okay, nowhere. Okay, that's dealt with. That's done. Move on. No. Israel, just like they have historically, what's the word I'm looking for? That was just a headline. That was just a title. They continued to murder as though that never actually was a thing. When you look at the reality of what has happened, and to this day, that ethnic cleansing is still taking place. So just trying to broaden our minds, like, my gosh,
It is
the outcome,
remote controllable.
we don't need to hear that, of these shots, pattern recognition. This administration's doing what? Just like the former administration, pushing shots. Trump to this day is praising warp speed. He's literally praising the companies behind the shot that murdered hundreds of thousands of Americans. And that is a conservative number. Over 600 100,000 Americans documented conservative number. He's praising the companies that produced that bioweapon, doing $70 billion deals with them. $70 billion in regards to Pfizer, $50 billion in regards to AstraZeneca. It's clear, I don't want to use such strong talk, but his initial running for president and initial administration, my pattern recognition meter was horrific. And it seemed like enough of the things he ran on were in fact being addressed. But big tech, the swamp, draining the swamp, locking her up, all these things, like going back, he is the swamp. He's sitting and dining with the big tech gurus, with Bill Gates, which is tied to everything. The actual vaccinations, our farming, buying up all this property. He's even a huge part, is playing a big role in fighting climate change and having a big role to play in the chemical compounds being sprayed all across the globe in our skies. Look at this pattern recognition. We've played this quite a bit. And this doctor walking through how chemo has a 97% failure rate. How can that be? There are other doctors that have a 20%, a 50%, even reported upwards of 80-90% survival rate for their cancer patients, and they span the gauntlet. Of all the diagnoses, they have a 90+% survival rate with different treatments that have nothing to do with chemo. So it's like, how could our government, how could our health agencies, the nonprofits, all these anti-cancer, collecting billions and trillions over the decades, not improve the main peddled treatment? They're implicated. The government, Western medicine. So I'm having a hard time articulating the words, but we literally are accepting the unacceptable, and I believe we've lost the discernment and this pattern recognition, stepping back. The pattern recognition here. How is it a 97% failure rate among, that's probably deemed one of the scariest things to get a diagnosis, right? Like some people literally refrain to even go into the doctor because they don't even want to know whether it's that. I just believe with proper pattern recognition, as Charlie was talking about, would have us more so addressing and not living within the fake societal constructs, and more so willing and gaining the ability to absorb the truth. The pattern recognition regarding slavery in this country. Let's play this clip. It's pretty powerful. There's better ones out there, but let's give this a listen.
Slaves owned by the Pharaoh of Egypt were required to pay him 20% of their income, their harvest from their crops, from their farm. Fast forward to 2025, the average U.S. taxpayer pays 24.8% tax, along with 7.65% FICA. On top of this, you pay sales tax, property tax, gas tax, and many other taxes. The slaves in Egypt were doing better than we're being taxed. You can't overtax people.
This is 100% true, and it's a shock, isn't it, to everybody? We are essentially making less than when we were slaves. than what they were slaves thousands of years ago. How crazy is that? That's 100% accurate, historically accurate. I was aware of these facts. Tariffs, the way this country ran, it became the richest, most powerful nation in the history of planet Earth. Not by squeezing the population and breaking everybody's back, working for just 40 cents or 50 cents on the dollar. You know, if you live in New York City, your tax rate is essentially 57.5% to 58%. You're only allowed to keep 42 cents of every dollar that you earn because you're giving it all to the state, to the city, to the government, to the county. Then the prices keep going up. You're choking to death. But you don't know that, do you? Because you still buy all the bullshit that's being peddled by CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, etc., and so forth. Wake up, America. You're being robbed, you're being cheated, and you're being lied to.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Just ask yourself, what happens if enough Americans stop paying income tax? It's criminal, illegal, unconstitutional for 99% of Americans. It's not patriotic to be paying into a system that runs a label of public representatives as private citizens, nothing private on our end, nothing public on their end. Where's the transparency? Those funds are being utilized against us. It's patriotic to stand up against oppression. It's patriotic to bring in, with our own actions, words each and every day, like based on the principles taught to us, not in our schools, but taught to us if we actually dive into the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Powerful, powerful documents, but we're not taught those principles for a reason. So what happens if enough of us say, frick all interest-based systems, from credit card debt to mortgages? We don't have to say, hey, we're going to walk away from the agreed upon price, but this is theft. When home costs X amount and you're literally at the end of it paying double. It trumps a new 50, or you would be paying triple. How is that acceptable? So what happens? Just consider it. What happens when enough of us say no more? And we want to seat at the table and renegotiate the terms of these loans, this form of slavery. That's patriotic. But enough of us do it. They can't foreclose, kick all of us out of the homes. We now effectively bring our cards to the table. We assume responsibility on the agreed upon amount. We just acknowledge the thievery. What happens? It's worth pondering, because therefore we bring the solutions organically without resorting to civil war. We could play our hands in so many different ways. No more criminal income tax, the interest. That in and of itself would take so much wind out of the cabal's sails. Heck, that might even afford us the ability to stand up AZAPAC and other organizations that are trying to compete with APAC funds, which has been entirely effective, non-registered, influencing and peddling, and you see it with an over 90% rate of putting certain select individuals with allegiances and dual citizenship in our Senate and our Congress. So I love this pattern recognition. Please chime in, add what you can. You know what? We're not going to play this one. Tucker nails it. He truly does. What a great man. None of us are perfect, but he's asking the right questions. There's a reason why he's being demonized. Really think about it. How are the Ben Shapiros being pedestaled as they are and not getting... You could just the whole system, when the system gets turned against, I mean, this is biblical. Look at what happened to Christ. Look at what happened, excuse me, to all of his apostles. That's another type of pattern recognition we could see biblically playing out before our eyes. I love this picture. We are all being played in the chessboard here, and essentially us being the pawn. You got the police, you got the military, you got media and the corporations, you got the government and the banking cabal. I really, historically, as you look into the real information, is how do we get so far away when people, you look at the example of a 2% T-tax and people really turned against that. Like how really as a country did we shift and more so go, was it so corrupted? And it does date back to 1913 with the Federal Reserve. There's nothing federal about the reserve, and they're not reserving anything. And that's a private entity lending to our government. We have been funding a cabal since 1913. That's what we're up against. And with the information age, now it just kind of makes sense why they got to roll out a pandemic. They got to dumb us down through shots and thin us out. There's nothing conspiratorial like the initial gentleman was touching on about this actually being a globalist world population move. We've played the clip ad nauseum. We'll continue to play it. Bill Gates, TED Talk, 2007. What did he state? If they do a really good job through health services and vaccinations, they can what? Lower the world population by 10 or 15%. That means health services no longer serve people, no longer improves health, because that means killing people. That means these shots aren't what vaccination means in our mind. Vaccination is a terrible word in my mind. It doesn't meet the definition they tie to that in any way, shape, or form. They cause more harm than good. And that is specifically into every single one of them, from the childhood vaccine schedule, from flu shots, you name it. They cause more harm than the actual specific label. It is supposed to cause a level, we're told, immunity or protection. It causes more harm. Every one of them individually as it's being broke down. This is a powerful pattern recognition right here. Donald Trump has now transferred more of America's wealth to BlackRock than all other U.S. presidents combined. If you don't know about BlackRock, if you don't know about the families and the individuals behind that's cornering our generational wealth by even buying up family homes. What happened in North Carolina with that storm, nothing natural about that storm. Who now owns those lithium deposits? BlackRock. Panama Canal. Trump was going to give it to the American people. No. Who bought that up? BlackRock. Just all these other horrific, you could see who's coming in after Maui fires, California fires, Texas, all over the place, folks. You can't make this stuff up. You see the pattern recognition, and it actually brings the biblical spiritual war to real life, full color, right here. And it's beautiful. It provides a beautiful opportunity for us to step out of the self-serving, selfish living and fulfill one's purpose in the biblical sphere. I mean, there's very limited glory to have in the American dream sphere. And that, frankly, has become the matrix to have that type of mindset with what truly is playing out before us. No, don't be dismayed. We actually have a couple individuals. I mean, I got to look into MGT or MTG, Margie Taylor Greene, and her stepping down. It's interesting because there were red flags I saw with her formerly. However, that shifts as she's grown, as she's realized how deep and wide the actual swamp is. And it is incredibly beautiful to see the shifts as she's learned and she's grown. And now Trump, this administration, everyone's targeting these individuals that actually expose it for what it is. And Thomas Massey is one of them. And I like this simple post. So there is other opportunities right there, but the machine, media, government, our funds, how it's being utilized against us, the suppression, the pedestaling of propaganda and the suppression of truth, how they're demonizing this man. But how could you go against what he states right here? If you support releasing Epstein files, ending the Fed, national constitutional carry, ending the PrEP Act, returning education to the states, end tax on Social Security, end congressional pensions. Wow. Expose dual citizenship in Congress. Bare minimum. The Prime Act. Less war. I'm your voice. Please help. Guys, Thomas Massey, United States Congress. If you haven't supported this man, followed, engaged, we must get more engaged in that regard. Seek out the true seekers that vibe with you, that aren't willing to sell their souls. Support them. Echo their messages. This can unify God's children to where we address more of the... I'm such a limited being. War tactics, my vocabulary. I'm sitting here struggling. I want to come up with more creative things for you. But gosh dang. I know we can have we could be doing so much more and less excusatory, because the fact of the matter, there are threats, not just at our door, that are making it inside our homes, in the form of the frequencies and the particles, the poisons in the water, all the food. Folks, it's having a devastating impact. We are the most unhealthy country in the world. And I believe, historically speaking, for frick's sakes, our nation populace isn't even keeping up with its die-off. So our birth rate, we could even, there was a post today by Elon Musk that was going viral, and he graphed out and was showing the die-off and this extreme threat that we're not in an overpopulation threat. It's a depopulation threat, and he was showing, and it's extremely alarming. But I challenged too that, well, Elon, you're not our friend. You obviously chose your friend Netanyahu and suppressed the very information that's led to this deterioration. It's great you're exposing this graph and all, but you're a part of suppressing the information that was helpful to health in our populace and peddling the information such as safe and effective that was damning, that led to a lot of this deterioration. J.D. Vance. Why would a person, ask yourself, pattern recognition here, why do so many of these individuals have these questionable historical, like weird little hidden lives? Definitely not a hillbilly. That's literally a fiction. Was born as James Donald Bowman. Grew up in the suburbs of Middleton, Ohio. Not at all poor, went to Yale. Changed middle name to David. Changed name again to Jimmy Hamill. Changed name to J.D. Vance 10 years ago when he married his wife. Nothing sus to see here at all. What is that about? They are the swamp creatures that Trump himself exposed all those years ago. Great, we did our part, we got them in, but to not acknowledge, like, okay, at this point, they are what they projected to fight against all those years ago. It's plain as day. And the pattern recognition on it is powerful. The world is ran by pedophiles. I agree with Candace and what she's touching on here. If it wasn't the Epstein files, wouldn't be such a big deal. And they would have released it as Trump promised us on day one. And not all redacted. There's literally nothing this administration regarding this specific topic has brought additionally to the table at all. Why is that, you suppose? Only pedophiles would be covering for pedophiles. Just like Trump's son, Don Jr., stated himself. And boy, has he shifted his stance regarding Epstein, I'm sure, when he really realized the connections his daddy has. 14-year best friendship with Epstein. That should tell us all we need to know right there. But let's check this out.
They think you're stupid. They think we're all stupid. Obviously, this is a conspiracy, okay? It is a conspiracy. And I was so happy to hear Joe Rogan spell out and acknowledge that not only are conspiracies real, but they're actually common, okay? He sat down with comedian Theo Vaughn and they discussed just that thing. Take a listen.
What makes me nervous is the people that are not aware that all of our assumptions of how the government works were all based on bull. The people that still believe, that are like true believers of one side or the other, true faith in government and experts, those people make me more nervous because some of them are smart. That's what's crazy. When smart people are completely unwilling to recognize that conspiracies are not just real, but they're also not rare. They're very common. They're common and people get away with them.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in positions of extreme power, like running intelligence agencies. And there's a lot of things that they do that are morally reprehensible, but totally legal. Like they can do it because they're allowed to, because they are a 3-letter organization and they have ultimate power.
Technically, so much of what they do is illegal, but it's a hierarchy. There's rules for us and somehow no longer for them. The bigger concern is we're sitting back and accepting the continuum of this hierarchy. Why?
Power to do a lot of like really gross things that are in the nature or in the interest of national security. So like this is the whole idea behind it. They say like this is our decision. This is the best move for national security. This is how we compromise assets. This is how we gather information. This is how we keep America safe.
Yeah, it's like the Jeffrey Epstein files. Like they're out there saying it would really compromise national security if we told you. Yeah, worldwide. If we told you that actually this whole world is being run by pedophiles, our nation wouldn't be secure. You guys would probably be in the streets violently protesting. You'd never send your kids into school. You'd avoid the government like the plague, and you'd stop paying taxes. So we're just going to classify that as a national security risk. That's kind of what that means, obviously. It means that what they are doing is so despicable that if we knew what they were doing, we would not listen to them. That's what that means. That's what that language means. That's why there's been so much protection over Jeffrey Epstein, because that is who rules over us. These people are disgusting. And there's just been so much proof.
The pictures of a former sitting, wasn't he duly elected, that Bill Clinton fella? Former sitting president, nonetheless, documented, nothing conspiratorial about it. He got on the Elite Express, the privately owned jet by Jeffrey Epstein, and flew out to his pedo island 36 known times. Bill Gates befriended Jeffrey Epstein after being convicted. And the world woke up to Epstein being the most renowned, prolific world trafficker in history, as far as we know, after the fact. They're not releasing this information because it implicates them, exposes them. What is so hard to absorb? Pattern recognition is very powerful. Break it down in your own way. Post it in comments. And this is what's beautiful. When someone provokes thought and you want to respond to them directly, whether it be in a personal message, be on an episode like this. I mean, sometimes we withhold because we're like, it's a minimal impact. But is it? When you write it up, and then now, because a lot of the personal messages, and now I'll take, I'll keep it personal there if I'm putting names and this and that, but I'll copy, paste, anonymity, take out names, just very simply edit, boom, an amazing X post. Put it into your notes so we can actually be more effective with our time on given topics, like, here's responses and notes for this particular topic, or I have a Save the World folder and endless podcast folders of just notes. I have specific response folders. So it's the fear of, I mean, I will take the time and put it on all social medias when I feel it's really impactful and helpful. I challenge us all to kind of get more engaged in that regard. Right here with this episode, agreements, disagreements, all of it, beautiful. Just to kick off that dialogue that Charlie fought so hard. That beautiful foundational work he was doing. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's words. And we need to be able to agree to disagree and maintain that freedom of expression above all. Candace, I don't know if you guys have seen, but TPUSA actually invited Candace to have this open discussion about all these things Candace is uncovering regarding Charlie's assassination. However, they put this caveat that you must come to HQ and do this in person. She agreed to doing it. 100%. But why put this caveat? They know she has her own studio. She's a busy lady, but they put this on her knowing. I mean, with what she's uncovered actually shows a lot of these individuals within the infrastructure of TPUSA are not to be trusted. For after all, you can't even explain their reactions on the immediate assassination, what took place there. They weren't reacting on behalf. So I view that stipulation of, we'll only have this if you come here, as, yes, 100% a threat. Candace, do not do that. Like, there's no reason why they can't just do this in remotely. 100%. That is threatening, whether to her life, because that would be a bold move, right? It would be so, it would expose so much if they actually use that as an op to take her out. But at minimum, the only reason they put that caveat in there is a level of threat no matter what, because there is intimidation. To even rule out the male figures, women figures, I wouldn't even want. If I was going to oppose a woman and put that, I would never put that caveat of, hey, let's have a debate. Hey, if you want to have it in person, great. But I'm fine to do it remote with you, because I wouldn't want to put them in that uncomfortable position. So them putting that caveat is extremely telling. If the intent was to properly address the very valid information she's been exposing, well, think about it. The intent would be to address that. No matter how so she already accepted, but I applaud her if she's not willing to go in this setting, because the outcome would be solely in favor their setting. They could set it up however they want. Maybe they know she doesn't like the cold and they just crank up the temperature, make her feel uncomfortable. They up the male intimidation. There's so many ways they could threaten her without actually threatening her life to impose the outcome more so they want. So the intent is all skewed. You can tap in pattern recognition here. That caveat, that is foolish. That exposes so much. So yeah, they're refusing her virtually. Why? I believe this is incredibly incriminating. Let's not forget, he was dead within 48 hours of saying this. Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. I know we kind of touched on that earlier, but this is verified from his phone, his text messages, and it is obviously not someone else utilizing his phone to express on his behalf, because this totally ties into even the message we played today. Challenging Israel, like, was there a stand down order? And how, I'll let you dissect that information for yourself. But let's up the recognition. Okay, this gentleman, he more so is hitting it from the approach I've formerly been hitting it at, but you can only take so much. So let him be like the bad cop for the day. But tell me, he's not hitting something like a nail on the head right here. What is he getting wrong? I love the passion. I love the strong talk. It is far past time, and I hope we respond in kind. It's dang time. Let this motivate you.
Here's what I'm tired of. I am tired. The American people are the biggest slaves of any citizenship in the entire world. And let me tell you why. Because the American people are the only people that are told, go work super hard, go take a massive amount of your life, and we're going to take at least half your money. All right? And then when we take half your money, we're going to send it overseas, or we're going to mismanage it, or we're going to steal it, or we're going to funnel it back into our political contributions, or we're going to send it over here for quote-unquote aid. Okay, where's our motherfucking aid? Where's our aid from Kuwait or any of these other rich countries to fix our homeless problem? Do you ever notice that none of the other citizens on the planet work so that we can have a better here in America? It's always the other way around. Why the fuck are we, the citizens of the United States of America, financing the well-being of every other fucking country in this planet, okay? Until people wake up to that and say no more, shit's gonna continue. This land of the free, that's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke, dude. Land of the free, land of the motherfucking worker bees is what we are. We work. Government takes more than half of our money. And you say, oh, well, they don't take half of mine. They only take half of the rich people's money. Oh, really? What do you pay when you buy shit? What do you pay when you own shit? What do you pay on your personal property? What do you pay when you put gas in your car? Okay? And if you add all those things up that you pay, they're taking 50% of your money too. And they're telling you to work. The American dream, the American dream, the American dream. And then we'll take half your shit and we send it to other countries. We are the world's ATM. The people of America are the world's ATM. It needs to end. People need to say no more. They need to get smart about taxes. Do you ever question why you weren't taught personal finance, balancing your checkbook, or taxes when you were in high school? Why isn't that part of the public education? Why are they teaching instead gender ideology and all this fucking bullshit? Because they want you to be financially ignorant so that you will go through your life not realizing how much they're actually oppressing you and how much they're actually stealing from you. And then they're going to tell you this is freedom. No, the fuck it isn't. It's not even close. So that's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of us being financially oppressed by our own government in the name of being quote unquote good people to all these other people that want to kill us.
Me and Total is virtuous.
Let's be real. Most people have seen this for some time. This isn't breaking news. Once again, I love his passion. But why do we continuously accept this? Even further, all those organizations that got turned against us are freaking employers. All the different military branches during a scamdemic, they shut things down. Martial law. Freedom? Don't you remember the ABC Soup News talking about the shaming of individuals for taking horse dewormers? Doctors literally stating that they don't want to treat or won't treat the unvaccinated if they have an emergency hospital visit. They hit it from every single angle to take away your body autonomy, your freedom, your choice as to what goes in to your body. And that they were trying to push into your body has led to this epidemic growing in our country of a deterioration of health, neurological issues. I mean, there are thousands of intended outcomes. And once again, it wasn't adverse effects because they were known. Whatever. At the point it's a known adverse effect and they withhold that information and they push it upon you in every way they can, that is an intended outcome. That is now in fulfilling what Bill Gates was stating. And why it's interesting, why are we not absorbing that? That's our health. Why are we not absorbing this? This is our economic freedom. A chance to actually create even generational wealth. The majority of the wealth lies within the 1% of this country, no longer the middle class. The middle class has been obliterated. So it really is an us and them. Are we going to continue to be the worker bees to our detriment? I just don't know why we're accepting that. Why we're not acknowledging this type of oppression as, in fact, a war tactic. Because it didn't end with the scam pandemic. They transitioned those funds and energy into other things. Yeah, we never even sought accountability now. I mean, the information on all, it's just, it truly is mind bending. Let's just absorb this clip and we'll get into what they've transitioned those funds, their energy and money and time towards essentially the new form of shot without having to put a needle into your arm and have the same intended outcome that they desire. And it's more than just the die off and population control. It is the mark of the beast, biblically speaking, where evil is amassing full control over not just our bank accounts, but our minds, our bodies, our spirits. I have a personal growing concern, and this is why I've kind of more so resorted from screaming from the rooftops, because I even feel in ways like my spiritual connection to God, and I know there's comforting scripture that he wouldn't allow evil to get between that connection, but I feel like it's becoming harder to walk with Christ, to feel that love and peace from our Creator. And the subversion of our church is like, dude, it's turning us into soy boy betas, especially the males, because we historically have had this protector role. And where are the men standing up against any of these oppressive measures, whether it be our speech, our finances, not just our individual health, but the ones we love? Whether it's our blood lineage, love, our friends, our colleagues, we would respond to a threat at that door in former known war tactics. Bullets, gas, guns, or any other form, right? Even a sword, a rock, a club, fists. We would respond. But a more covert, frequency-based, and it's known, it's not conspiratorial as they're trying to chalk up. For frick's sakes, RFK admitted, stating the poisons happening from our aircraft in our sky, because that isn't a contrail, is in fact a crime. 36 states have tried to expose and pass legislation banning the sprays and aerosolized poisons being pumped into our skies. There's no hiding from that. Our loved ones are breathing that air. How are we not even using that as a poisonous gas? Because that's the closest like correlation, but it's a war tactic nonetheless. We'd respond to bombs. We would respond to bullets. But we're not acknowledging this war tactic. It's a hard one to swallow. Why would they go to those measures? Well, why did they go to the length of closing down the world? Safe and effective. Get this thing. Everything will be okay. Incentivizing it. Free burgers, free sex in certain countries. Yes, they offered brothels to some of their people to get that shot. And then shaming. They went through the whole psychological gauntlet. Sorry, I don't mean to be talking on this ad nauseum, but just absorb the outcome and give this a listen.
We now know, we have conservative death estimates in the U.S. from these shots. It's about 500 to 600,000 American casualties conservatively. We know Pfizer alone's been linked to 470,000 American deaths just in the first year alone, based on an extrapolation from a study by the Florida Surgeon General. So these have caused more deaths, more American deaths than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined. Jeez. So because this was a mass casualty event, and these injections also sterilize, they are sterilization injections. They wipe out over 60% of women's non-renewable egg supply and reduce conception success by 33%. And those were two studies that came out this year. So they are making it so you're not able to have children, and they're killing people off. And they're still there. They're still pushing them. So this appears to be intentional population reduction operation.
Very, very well said. I'm so grateful for ones that are able to put this information together better than I. I'm just a easily chalked up loon screaming into a microphone. Guys, I love you. I want the best for you. It's so hard to rein in with my limited neurological state. I mean, I got them spirochetes and all the co-infections from Lyme disease. There was one doctor that identified 14 different co-infections and one over 20. And we were sitting here. It's crazy, the battle. And it has been exactly like the original naturopath that honed in, saw through all the labs, and I got my first Lyme diagnosis. It's like, and he knew me a bit. He's like, here you are. This is where you want to be. Ideally, there's a direct path to take. There is no direct path in fighting this bioweapon. It's going to look like this, James. All over the place, but as long as you're trending in that direction, that's what it's about. And folks, there's a part of me that feels like my own, and I don't want to make this about me, but there's a level to this with the uptick of these other weapons of war. Man, I didn't even dive into that last clip. Why am I jumping around? Well, we'll get to it. But there's a level of my own getting well. How am I going to get well with the additional ramping up of these other war tactics, diminishing our neurological and all this and that, and causing inflammation within the body? My gosh, you got to rein in on the inflammation to even allow your body to naturally address the things that are ailing it. So yes, I feel there's a level to my own health where I can't. Tell me, how can I address this direct threat and issue individually? I'll do it. Whatever costs, even at my own life. Give me the path. Email me privately at unmuzzledchat.com. I will do it. So in a way, I haven't found that path, and I don't know any one individual can, in fact, address that. So hence the importance of a collective effort through us all. But the fact of the matter is, whether you're showing the symptoms like this canary in the coal mine or not is irrelevant, because it's impacting you nonetheless. And you could look at the statistics of our nation. So ask yourself, do you really care about this existence? Do you care about becoming the best version of you? Because it will be hindered unless we address this threat. There is no going back to a life of normalcy to even address the COVID crimes, for freak's sakes. They've continued. They haven't stopped. That Agenda 2030, with the World Economic Forum stated, representatives in our own government have joined forces with. But what I'm trying to get at is, you don't have to do this for me. That'd be nice and all. That's cool. Do it for you. Most importantly, do it for your loved ones. Let's get engaged. And collectively, we could do amazing things. We're selling ourselves short, folks, in this life. I know that. I feel that in every fiber of my being. We're going to go over a couple quick solutions and just a call to action for the day. And we're talking this, if you're very quick with it, let's just go through it. Boom, boom, click into your state, send a letter to your representative. Read this, fill this out. You could do this in less than 1 minute. 1 minute of your time. Please do that. The other challenge, and the links are in the description below, is to watch this dimming. Absorb the information and data. Don't even take all the evidence. It's pretty hard because they bring all the receipts. But you don't have to take their word for it all. You could do your own testing, whatever lengths necessary for you to absorb that, wow, we are at war. Wow, who would have thunk? Because we can't do anything about those threats unless we come to a place of acknowledging we're at war. It's so important. This clip captures it pretty powerfully. Let's play this one last clip for the day.
What do we have now? We now know with peer-reviewed study that bees are testing with 70 times more aluminum in their system than what it takes to cause Alzheimer's or dementia in a human being. It's a wonder any of them are alive. 70 times more. And this is important as well. When you have somebody from some agency who's paid to lie, who tells you it's normal to have aluminum everywhere because it's a very abundant element. That is a lie of inaccuracy. Aluminum is very abundant in the environment, yes, but it does not exist in the environment in free form. It doesn't exist in free form. It must be mined and refined and sprayed for it to be scattered everywhere in the environment, and that's exactly what's happening. It's not just the bees that are dying. Every single one of us is being contaminated. These materials are bioavailable. They're building up in our systems, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It's a fact. We have the lab test to prove it. There will be no hiding this issue much longer. And what does it appear? The chemical signature for what's showing up in rain tests matches coal fly ash, a substance that the EPA has told us is not harmful. They've been trying desperately to get rid of, and it seems to suit the purposes for geoengineering, and evidence is increasingly indicating that toxic coal fly ash may be one of the base materials they're using to spray because it gives them plausible deniability.
So powerful, folks. Again, please do that minimal effort to send that email to your representative. Watch the dimming, share that with those you love. It's wild how historically we never had these, and we had generations of all this aircraft in the sky, but never had these trails that would go span the whole horizon and dissipate and blanket the sky. And it takes the deep dive for us to even believe what we're seeing when historically it never existed in our childhood videos or photos. Time truly is of the essence. Biblical challenges for the day. I was just looking into this. There's unity. There's some biblical references under unity. Let's check these out. We have Psalm 133:1. Unity among believers pleases God. There's those other scriptures where it's like not any one of us can make up the whole body of Christ. It's through unity, and through many we can do that as a collective. We could do just that. And then the faith of the mustard seed, moving mountains. Let's tap into that. Let's not just stay as most soy boy pastors, skinny jean pastors teach, the weak turning the other cheek stance. Now there's importance in our individual lives because it's, there to be offended, and so there's great lessons. We'll just keep it to this other. Look at me trip up. Challenge you to step up. This isn't easy, folks. It isn't easy. I would do far better getting more people on and having real dialogue and conversation than these monologues. Maybe I'll put more effort into that. But it's not even just turning the other cheek. Oh, I'm not going to find it. It was right there in my own rant. I lost it. And it's not coming to me. I apologize. Burn, trip, fall on my face. But I accept that. It's not going to keep me from just trying my best in the moments. Christians are not supposed to live in isolation. John 17:11. Unity includes bearing one another's joy and burdens. Romans 12:9-16. Believers must seek unity in all essentials. 1 Corinthians 1:10. In all essentials. Wow. There can be great unity even in great diversity. Ephesians 4:3-13. For example, what comes to mind is, I believe, a very toxic, destructive level of think of LGB, blue hair, my body, my choice, all of that. However, there's a lot of disagreement in our personal lives. However, there's an acknowledgement that I have more in common with that individual than our oppressive billionaire class pulling all the strings. We would do ourselves a big favor to befriend. And that, in the other sense, would have the greatest opportunity, pose the greatest opportunities for us to even rub off on them. And maybe them acknowledging that toxic, destructive, sinful think of my body, my choice, and things along those lines. The love Christ commanded should create unity among believers. Philippians 1:3-11. Unity ought to be a distinctive mark among Christians. Philippians 2:1-2. I'm still stewing over that thought of where was I going with it, with the pastors. I'm going to play this back at some point, and it's just going to annoy the snot out of me. It was right here. Wrapping that up. Is this happening to you more? Maybe that's a lesson to absorb. I believe that's another moment of proof. Because as I was maturing and growing and learning, this actually would happen less and less and less. Then now all of a sudden it's happening more and more, and we're just accepting the level of deteriorated state. I would attribute this to the poisons, the parasites, the all the crap in our food, water, fluoride, known, memory issues, dumbing down, aluminum, for example, that the gentleman just talked about, that uptick in bees, enough to cause Alzheimer's in humans, but also the wavelengths, the frequency. If we're not even at peace and the wrong frequencies are just pumping through our bodies, causing inflammation, it's just going to put us more so in a perpetual state of losing our thoughts and just more so the struggle bus, if that makes sense. I hope this was a little more encouraging. I don't know. I'll try to get together and have more impactful episodes futuristically. The fact of the matter is, Charlie Kirk, COVID, so many of these things that we can really jump on, and the additional methods that they're using now. I'm sorry, folks, we cannot afford ourselves to sweep that under the rug. There is no going back to any life of normalcy without properly addressing those threats. I hope you see that. I hope you see the intent, and we're going to continue to come at it from all sorts of different angles, all of them, till we properly address it. Then maybe there won't be a need for unmuzzledness and unmuzzled chat. That would be fantastic. I believe with the spiritual war being played out, the temporary ruler, as the Bible depicts Satan in this world that we're living in, it's a forever battle. So let's do our part. Let's put on the armor of God and let's show up. Until next time, God bless.